welcome to a new edition of Greenfluencers, the BBVA Corporate Investment Banking initiative that, among other things, is helping us to understand the transformation, the main changes that is taking place across industries towards sustainability and in order to promote a greener and more inclusive world. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing an institutional investor for the first time since we launched Greenfluencers. And to do this, in the context of our flagship European conference on investment strategies and market trends in Latin America, we meet in London with Yerlan Syzdykov, the global head of emerging markets at Amundi Asset Management. As you know, Amundi, as a pioneer in responsible investing, they started their sustainability journey several years ago. And I hope that the effort and the excellent track record that Amundi has in this field will help us better understand how Amundi assesses ESG risk and opportunities in Latin America and emerging markets. So Yerlan, welcome to Greenfluencers, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
So Yerlan, maybe I would like to start this conversation by asking you the role of asset management industry in promoting sustainability. And also, if I may, if you can elaborate on what's been Amundi's ESG journey so far.
Thank you. We believe that the financial industry generally and asset management in particular is playing a very major role in promoting sustainability, in being the conduit of the policies that the governments and people are pursuing. So all the stakeholders that Amundi represents also are aligned in those goals. Our journey really started back in 2011, so very early on, late 2011, where our, at the time, CEO and the chairman, Yves Perrier, made a very strong commitment to the ESG with a very strong vision that ESG will be the future of how finance generally will work. So it will become a mainstream, in his own words, in the years to come. And he was quite right. So our journey began with a commitment that all our funds will be converted into the ESG funds or targets, ESG targets that will be embedded within all of our actively managed funds. And today, effectively, we will achieve that goal after years of development. We've invested in our own ESG research. That was our first commitment, where we have now developed our own in-house ESG ratings system. Of course, on top of the data that we have been mining ourselves on the ESG side, we have been deploying all the data we can have. So today we're using 8 different data providers and rating agencies that form the core of our belief. More importantly, we started looking at a range of products that will promote sustainability. We were the first ones to come up with the decarbonization indices that were effectively aligned with the Paris goals on the climate change. And we started promoting social investing. So we were one of the first investment managers to launch social funds, social bond funds at the time. So I think the commitment has been reinforced and enhanced in 2017, where Amundi effectively moved from exclusion policies that we used to have towards coal or some other non-ethical investments into more pronounced what we call ESG 2.0 strategy with a focus on effectively engagement. So we are not only actively excluding companies with bad behavior, but also encouraging companies to change their behavior through engagement. So that is something that we continue working on together with the rating agencies, together with our own rating, internal rating system, and promoting specifically in emerging market context all of the achievements we've made now in a taxonomy on the European side, on global side as well.
Very interesting. And regarding your, the concept of engagement, that I think it's a relevant milestone that you have just shared with us. How does Amundi promote its ESG views and sustainability views in the Latin region and also in the emerging markets region?
Well, in emerging market, clearly, we were one of the first ones also to promote very similar sustainability goals through engagement with our partners, with our stakeholders, and that includes the multilateral organizations, that includes our institutional investors, the likes of the World Bank, IFC, some development banks, regional and international, really to promote investments into specific areas of development on the sustainability side. And our first big success has been really promoting our green investments. At the time, the green investments have been really very sporadic, very non-standardized. So that was maybe about 5 years ago when we started working with the World Bank and IFC, and we've successfully launched a $1.5 billion vehicle that would really promote green investments and help to fund the projects throughout emerging countries. We subsequently launched a series of other opportunities globally and also in certain countries where we operate, for example in China with the China Green Future Fund, where we're also promoting green investments. So I think that was one area of development. I already mentioned the element of social investing, which has been extremely important during and after the pandemic years that hit emerging markets in Latin America specifically as well, where we actually earmarked significant amount of those funding opportunities from the global perspective towards emerging markets. But also we are now working on launching an opportunity to, again, together with the World Bank and IFC, that will be focusing on sustainability. So it's going to be sustainable bonds, sustainability-linked bonds, and also social bonds that will be investable within the concept of this fund. And we are just about to launch that fund, which I'm really grateful for our partners and institutional investors. We have received close to $1 billion worth of commitments to launch such a fund, which is going to be, again, probably the biggest opportunity to promote sustainability markets in emerging context. We also have a range of funds which are really being developed with Asia Investment and Infrastructure Bank, AIIB, that now we're using that concept to promote other vehicles with our other institutional investors within Asia and in the Middle East, which is focusing specifically on the climate change. So this is the range of the products that we now have in the emerging world. But of course, we're following the footsteps of our global footprint, where we're actually pushing a lot the net zero, where we're part of the Net Zero Alliance. Of course, we are one of the founding signatories of the UNPRI. So I think these are the areas where actually we continue to promote the sustainability principles, even in very unlikely situations when we're actually facing restructurings in the sovereign space. We're actually trying to promote sustainability principles and KPIs sometimes that are based on our vision for the country's sustainability path.
And if we need to talk about the future, what are going to be the main challenges in emerging markets towards the development of sustainable investments? And also, if I may, how can companies and market participants support and promote and contribute to these sustainable investments going forward?
I think starting off with the challenges, of course, even from the investor's perspective, we do face challenges today. A lot of investors will tell you the same, that we still lacking data, reliable data, because a lot of investors could today take views based on their sustainability beliefs and methodology, but the data, that underlying data that we have, is probably not of very good quality. What we call the data from a lot of rating agencies that are now being produced is produced by what we call inference, really model-based data, not a real data that you actually receive through engagement. It'll take time. We're getting there. A lot of efforts are being made, not only by us, but other rating agencies and other investors as well. Through engagement, we're gaining a lot more traction, and this also helps to educate the companies. If we're looking at response from companies, it varies across different continents and countries, but some countries are way behind. Say in China, the rate of return of the surveys that we have, questionnaires we call them, on the ESG side is very, very low. It's below 10%. So 90% of companies are not responding simply because they're actually not familiar with a lot of these concepts. So a lot of education that needs to be there should be done. In the concept of our promotion of the green investments, we also run series of trainings together with the World Bank to educate companies how to issue bonds, green bonds, sustainable bonds. So I think this is something that the companies, and I know that BBVA is obviously a very big promoter of this, could also team up with us and help a lot of companies to facilitate the issuance. Because we believe that the more issuance we have, the better that will transition, the easier that the transition will be for the emerging world. So I think this is a challenge, but also a big opportunity, I think, for us to educate investors and to bring more. On the regulatory side, of course, we had a lot of challenges. As an investor, I can say that we had to change the concept, of course, as with the SFDR, changing the goalposts somewhat. So it creates, it takes time for all of us to face the regulatory changes that I think eventually will bring us to more of the standardization and to more of a promotion of the green and sustainable investment in general. But for now, I think this is a great challenge for investors, for stakeholders, for our clients as well, to understand which funds have sustainable investment policies that fit or suit their own vision on sustainability. And this is something that is a huge opportunity, again, for the likes of BBVA, for ourselves, to sit down and explain what are the differences in the concept and how we're applying this. Standardization will again help us to improve on that front. So I think the companies can also work with and not be afraid to work with us on engagement, because those questionnaires, if maybe they're complex or complicated, partially will reflect badly or in a good way on the company's rating. So I think it's eventually in companies' interests to improve and unlock more financing, more funding, not only in a specific way, which is going to be sustainable, but also to help channel normal investments, because as we know, the current European regulation will push us towards more of the sustainable investments for mainstream funds. So it's no longer just in order to attract some of the specific ESG targeting funds, you will need to have those ratings, but you need to engage sooner than later, even in order to continue receiving the normal flow of funding from the markets. So I think this is very important to understand for the clients of BBVA, for the companies at large, that only through the process of engagement, so it takes two to tango, we can actually improve and make better decisions and create better funding opportunities for the companies. So I think these are kind of main topics. And of course, the big one is in emerging market context. The last one is that together we need also to work more on the top down. Because in many countries, when we are facing issues, these are issues that are probably more dependent on what would be the domestic regulation. Mm-hmm. So companies will never go against domestic regulation. So the best way, most efficient way would be to work through the top down. And that entails a lot of working very closely with governments, as BBVA also does quite a lot. We try to do more, and working together with multilateral institutions like you and PRI, for example, to promote those principles, because this is going to be a quicker way to change behavior of the companies rather than working from the bottom up. We need to work on both bottom up and top down.
Sure. Thank you, Yerlan. It's been a lovely conversation. Thanks a lot for your insights. At BBVA, we share similar values to Amundi, so we are very proud to have the opportunity to partner with Amundi in mobilizing funds towards relevant projects for the environment and for the positive social development. Obviously, we are looking forward to keep on working with you on ESG financing solutions, and hopefully we will do so. Okay, so thank you so much. Let me give you this tombstone as a Greenfluencer, Amundi's team. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege. Thank you.